Chapter 12. William woke up to knocking on the door, followed by a throbbing headache. It was Nurse Beth. She walked in, sat him up, and removed the straitjacket from him. William said, "Ow, my head hurts like hell." "Where's Dr. Young?" Nurse Beth replied.
"He's waiting for you in his office. Now let's get you up. You could brush your teeth if you'd like, and then head on down to Dr. Young. Okay, hun?"
William nodded, and then proceeded to the bathroom to brush his teeth. After he was done rinsing, he looked in the mirror and saw himself. A brief memory of yesterday's little scuffle flashed by. He regretted doing that to Jared for two reasons. One, he'd get in trouble, and knowing today's society, they'd take care of that violence real quick with some nasty medication. And two, his reason for doing it probably wouldn't fly with Dr. Young. But William decided earlier on he was going to tell him the truth about the overcast and everything anyway. He finished straightening his hair to the best of his ability. William was always worried about his hair and if there was anything in his nose. It drove him nuts if he had to talk to someone and felt like his hair was weird or something was hanging from his nose. William found himself in front of Dr. Young's office. He opened the door and greeted the doctor. "Hey, Doc. How's it going?" The doctor said back,
"Well, I'm fine, William. Sounds like you had some trouble, though. What in the world was that all about yesterday?"
William asked before he answered. "How was your vacation, Doc?" Dr. Young smiled for a second and answered quickly.
"It was good. Now what's going on? Why did you sleep for a day and a half? And what in the world inspired you to break one of my orderly's cheekbones?"
Well, believe it or not, it's a long story, and it has something to do with things that happened when you were gone. "Oh yeah, and I'm sorry about the orderly, Doc, honestly," Dr. Young replied.
"Well, go right ahead. I think we're going to talk until we're finished today instead of just the usual hour, if that's okay with you."
William settled into his chair and rested his elbows on the arms while saying, "Not a problem, Doc. I've got some weird stuff from this past week. And I also remembered something I need to give to you. It might help with some of the reasons why I admitted myself in the first place. Who knows, it might spark some more light on the subject." William plopped a blue notebook on Dr. Young's desk that had "Broken Iris" etched on the front cover and said, "It's a bunch of thoughts I've had since that night and some poems about those thoughts. Some of the things that really drive me nuts are in there, and by the time I understand my thoughts, I put the solutions in the back. The problems I don't understand, well, that's probably something you can help me out with, Doc." Dr. Young responded with an uplifting tone.
"Well, that's a big help, William. It's great, by the way, for you to jot down your thoughts. I'd recommend that for anyone who has problems with things in life. The burden just seems to leave your mind right onto the paper, and your mind won't feel so crammed."
"You're telling me?" Sometimes it sounds like there's a goddamn multi-purpose room full of fighting politicians in my head when I go to lay down, all along with Louis Prima playing in the background. Dr. Young gave a quick laugh and cheerfully took the notebook. He set it on the side of his desk. He felt like this book had a lot of important things that would really help him get a grasp of William's thoughts and problems. Something weird came over Dr. Young, though. He couldn't help but feel that even more interesting things were to be jotted down from William's mind in the upcoming future. Dr. Young then said after a sigh,
"So, William, let's hear all about your week."
William relaxed in his chair and began to talk about the dream from the beginning of the week. "First off, Doc, I have to say these dreams are getting scary real. One of them happened when I was wide awake and sitting on my bed. It's as if I get pulled into another world. I also saw David in another, with a guy named Logan. Funny thing how your brain takes things you've seen before. Because I've met a guy named Logan right outside this place the day I checked in. Guess he decided to join in my dreams as well, huh?" Dr. Young grew a puzzled look on his face at this remark and quickly jotted something down with a smooth reply to William.
Have you always had vivid dreams? I mean, I know recently, but how about before everything happened?
No, not at all. That's why these dreams are freaking me out so much.
Well, are all these dreams the same, or do they vary?
It started out with the ocean one I talked to you about. That one was okay and at least felt dreamy. These new ones are different and consist of a whole bunch of shit I've never seen before. William then went on to explain Logan, David, the Overcast, the Angels, heaven and hell, the whole thing. William then added to Dr. Young, I know this sounds nutty, but by way of chance, you think this Overcast deal has any connection to the virus that's going on? I mean, David mentioned something to me about some dark disease, and then my dreams happened about the Overcast. Then Jared gets that virus that people have been talking about. While William mentioned these things, he felt like Dr. Young had already heard it all because his expression was of no feeling. When he was done, the doctor said,
Have you been talking to David Glass a whole lot?
Not about too much of this stuff. Why? Dr. Young sat up in his chair.
William, either two things happened this past week. You broke into my office here and you looked through my patient files, which I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Or you're lying to me about talking to David regarding this dream of yours.
William couldn't believe Dr. Young's response. He was in brief shock from the reply and then said, The hell? What are you talking about? What does this have to do with David besides the fact that he's in the dream? Dr. Young said back in a more demanding tone.
William, you're going to have to answer me more clearly on this. Have you gone through my files?
William had no clue what the hell was going on. This made him not want to be there anymore, especially after he saw the segment on the news about the prison breaks. He wanted to go. He felt like he was cut off from the world outside. It made him claustrophobic. He was starting to come to the conclusion that if he stayed, he'd never get to leave. All of a sudden, he didn't really trust Dr. Young because of his questioning about searching through his files. William felt like this conversation, combined with his outburst on Jared, had really sealed the deal on him not leaving. He was scared now, but kept his calm, and said while bouncing his left knee in nervousness, Look, Dr. Young, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're the first person to hear about this dream. Dr. Young had dealt with a lot of pathological liars, but didn't find William to be lying. William was really getting Dr. Young's gears turning and unburying an old problem of his with another patient upstairs. It was just all too coldly familiar. Dr. Young noticed he was making William uncomfortable, so he replied in a more comforting tone.
I'm sorry, William. This might just be a weird coincidence. Just finish your story.
William felt a little better, but was curious as to why Dr. Young replied like that. William went on, reluctantly. So, like I was saying, it wasn't Jared stepping on the butterfly that made me do that. I know he's an ass. I also believe he's touching one of your other patients, by the way, Allie. He really has been a lot darker of a person lately. The doctor interrupted.
What? What do you mean?
William was afraid to answer after the little trust issue they just had about the files, but said it anyway. Okay, look, I was following Bryce and Jared because they're not honest and I can't stand them. Hell, they're one of the reasons I'm in here in the first place. Anyway, they do drugs on the job and Jared does weird shit to Allie. God knows how often before I found out. Like I said, Jared's been acting extra weird. Maybe it has something to do with those damn dots on his forehead. Although William knew they weren't one of the reasons, he figured why not just pile them in with all that's wrong. Dr. Young said back,
I'll check into that.
What the hell are you gonna do? Ask them?
No, we have cameras in the hallways. I'll just check if they've been spending more time in her room than the others when we do lights out at the end of the day.
William nodded, saying, "Oh, okay, Doc. Anyway, like I was saying, it wasn't Jared that made me do it. It was what happened after he stepped on the butterfly. I looked up and his whole body turned into one of those overcast things from my dream. I really think that this overcast thing has something to do with the outbreak, Doc, honestly." Dr. Young took a second to cool way down and then asked,
You're telling me that a being known as the Overcast has contaminated Jared? That sort of path is what leads you away from healing, William. You need to concentrate on healing from what happened to you. When you get over that first, then you can begin to worry about others. Do you understand this, William?
William completely took in what Dr. Young said and nodded. "Yes, sir, I do." Dr. Young then continued,
So that's why you struck Jared? You saw a short glimpse of what terrified you in these dreams?
"Exactly. I was in that dream for almost 2 days, Doc. I was definitely still shaken up by it at the time." "What do you make of those dreams, though?" Dr. Young replied,
William, it doesn't work that way. Dreams can definitely vary according to what people have seen before and what they like, want, or dislike. In your case, if you're telling the truth, those aren't your dreams.
"I know where you're going, Doc, and I've already thought about it. The whole fact that it could be David's dreams or mine. There's no damn way I'll believe that for a second, though." Dr. Young didn't know what to make of William's statements, so he told him,
Okay, William. In this case, I'll take this notebook you gave me and read through it for the next week. It'll help me to get to know you a lot better. And I need to have a meeting with some of the other doctors and staff members on the subject of Jared. I'll also need you to talk to another patient about this, since I'm not allowed to talk to you about the other patient's files. So I'll need you to ask his permission and some other questions. As for your dreams, I'll be putting you on some medication for that. As of this session, I believe we're through. Why don't you go relax for a while and I'll have Nurse Beth set you up with another meeting for today.
William felt like this conversation was too short. He didn't want to be here anymore, but knew that now was the worst possible time to try and leave. William nodded and went off while Dr. Young sat and stared at the notebook for a while. He really got a strange feeling from that notebook. William said his goodbye and headed back to his room, as he was starting to panic at the fact that he did not want to be stuck in this place for much longer. He wanted his family, which he was starting to miss a lot. He wanted to move on with his life. It was as if for a split second, the fear of not being free scared him right into the normal young man that he was meant to be. He knew now that the emotions that came from his negative thoughts and the fear mixed with naivety, thinking that Jared was really one of the Overcast, just might have stuck him there for a while. William felt one more final thing still. He feared the Overcast, and was beginning to think that they were real. He felt like if he didn't leave soon, he would encounter a hopeless and grim situation. He then went to his room to do some deep thinking on life and how he could get out of VMI.